Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. We still have 2 minutes left, but I guess we are all good to start, right? I take that as a yes. So good afternoon, everybody. Today we are going to talk about. Oh yeah, sorry, and I forgot it. Today we are going to talk about the Drupal multisites and how can you build that up with Docker4Drupal. A little story about it. When you are working with big brands, you have to keep up the brand consistency. That's one of the main reasons why multisites is usually being chosen to work with these kind of clients. It comes with a lot of perks, but first thing first, Drupal comes with multi-site support out of the box. So you don't really have to configure anything to make it work, except the sites in PHP. You can share functionality across your instances. You can create localizations per instances, and that's one of the main points why you would use that. Let's go with an example. In Belgium, you have three official languages, right? English, French, and German. Oh, wow. Mea culpa. You need three languages. But based on the languages, you will end up displaying different contents. But the functionality, the output of that content will be still the same. When you would create sites for more than just one country, so Belgium just was one country, you can create one for Netherlands, one from, for example, China. It's really important to be able to deliver personalized content for your users, but you have to maintain the functionality consistency across your platform. And working in a bigger team, because usually when you use multi-site, that means that you are working on a big project. Hence, there will be a lot of people, developers, who are participating in delivering the project. Hence, you have to find answers to these challenges. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Docker4Drupal. Docker4Drupal actually answers and solves all the issues around the multi-site installation in a Dockerized and structured way. The Docker4Drupal images, the Woodby images, they are highly optimized for Drupal development. They are regularly updated. In every month there is usually 1 to maybe 3 updates for the whole platform. It's highly customizable. That comes with an up and a down. The upside is that it's highly customizable, so you can really optimize it to your needs, but you have to know what you're doing. The other perks for it, it's really, really compact. If you want to set up an instance, you only need a environment file, a Docker Compose file, and that's pretty much it. That's just 2 files. Sorry, I went over. However, there is one issue which comes with Docker. Docker works in a slightly different manner than in Linux, in Windows, and in Mac. Especially on Mac. How many of you are using Mac for development? A lot. How many of you used Docker before? A lot. Nice. I guess you also experience the performance issue on Mac. It's extremely slow. The reason behind this slowness is the file system inconsistency. So, the main part of this presentation is to solve that performance issue. There are a couple of things that you can do for performance. One is to set the storage driver to overlay 2. The other is to start using memory-based cache, Redis or memcached. I much prefer Redis because you can make it persistent. On Mac, you can use user-guided caching, which is a really nice feature of Docker for Mac, but it's just not enough. And lastly, you can set up the NFS support, NFS mounting support. If you set up these, you will end up with a Drupal multisite, which loads less than a second on your local, on Mac. Without that, page load times usually takes 5 to 10 seconds, which is really unbearable. Let's see some code, because that's where all the information it is. How much is it visible? Rarely, right? How about this? Good? Behind the back? Right. Okay, so let's go quickly through the code. When you set up the multisite, you will need just a handful of containers. You are going to need a database, you're going to need PHP, you're going to need Apache or Nginx, you're going to need traffic, which will handle the communications, and that's pretty much it. You don't need anything more. Well, Mailhog if you don't want to accidentally send out emails anywhere. When you're setting up the database, multisite is one code base, multiple databases. Usually, what happens when you have multiple databases is that you create multiple database containers, as much as you need. However, if you are working with a bigger brand, a client which has offices in 74 different countries, this file would be extraordinarily large. It would be really hard to maintain. What can we do about this? We can use whatever is in our init MariaDB folder to map it to the entry point of the MariaDB. And when you do this and first initialize your containers, it will read and execute whatever files find in this folder. As you can see or cannot see, I have an init_MariaDB folder here with a default .sql file. And the content of that default .sql file is just a couple of lines of database creation. With this, you don't have to create unlimited amount of database containers. You just run one, which will handle all your databases. The PHP container, kind of the heart of the whole setup. As you can see, I'm not using the default would-buy PHP image. I'm using my custom Docker file to build up the PHP container. The reason why I'm doing this is because usually you have to add some additional PHP libraries, or you want to debug something. It's really worth the effort just to have a Docker file just in case. Other issues. When you are mapping up files from your host to your container, it's important to share the same users and groups between the two machines. However, goodbye images comes in two different flavors. One is the general Linux-based approach. The other is the Mac-based approach, because on Mac your user is 501, your group is 20, but you have to map these users to your container. But you have an image for that that's called, that's the 7.2 dev macOS image, which will map it to 501.20 across the containers. But what are you doing if your user ID is not 501 on your Mac? Then you will be in a bit of trouble, because you won't be able to even enable the NFS support. It will just give you permission denied. To sort that out, in your Docker file, you can just implement an argument, give the PHP tag, and the image will be based on the Goodbye Drupal PHP image. And in that, you can switch users, you can do whatever you want. I'm not talking about really the mail hook this time, it's really just to catch all the outgoing emails. Regarding the Apache, I tried to sort out this with Nginx, and I ended up with Apache. Out of the box, it has much better performance than Nginx. For Nginx, you really have to dive deep into it and optimize it. Extra words for the Redis container. You have to make your cache, your memory-based cache, persistent. Otherwise, whenever you stop the container, your cache is gone, and you have to go through all that slow, painful processes to gather the cached data. You can add a small, short environment variable, Redis append only, yes, and you can map the data volume on the container to the Redis data volume. And we arrive to the volumes. The NFS support is available for Docker4Mac since March. It's not too well documented, so it took some time and effort to find the right configurations. However, it's worth the effort. Why? Because the file sharing on Mac is really extraordinarily slow, and with the NFS support, you can ease that load on the server. With this, you would have an up and running site, but you definitely don't want to use long Docker commands. For that, Docker4Drupal ships with a make file. The make file basically is acting as an alias for your commands. So instead of typing docker compose docker compose minus the up, you just write make. You change something in your container, fine, make. This is making the whole setup very handy. You literally don't have to type. Going back to a bit for the Docker compose file. The traffic frontend priority rule. You need to set this so traffic will sort out your name resolution in a certain order. The bigger this number is, the earlier it gets executed. What does that mean? You have mailhog, maybe you want to use adminer or phpMyAdmin. You will experience the following thing. If you don't add this, Docker won't really know when mailhog should be resolved. Yeah. Which is fine if you use, for example, one site, but what would happen if you would use, I don't know, 100? And you definitely don't want to type those URL addresses in your compose file. What you can do? You can create a regular expression which will cover these. As you can see, the priority here is 1. That means that this has the lowest priority. Whatever request comes in, the traffic will start resolving that request in the front-end priority, and when it cannot resolve it with the existing ones, then it will try to use this regular expression. It's quite compact. An additional note for this. How many of you are using DNS mask? Right. DNS mask is a tool to keep your host file clean. So, giving an example, you have 100 different websites plus 4 additional one for the Docker. Adding all of those to the host file will take some time. Removing it, well, that's faster for sure. But maintaining it is definitely a hell. DNS mask will put rules in place saying that, okay, whatever ends with localhost, whatever URL is ending with localhost, it will be redirected to localhost. Hence, you don't have to do anything. You write abcd.localhost, it will redirect its call to the localhost itself. This is pretty much the setup, what you need, and this is how it works in real life. I'm not sure this will be visible. Visible? Alright, so I'm in my project root folder, and all what I have to do, and all the other developers what have to do, is just run make. It will pull all the images, it will build them if it's necessary, and done. The left panel is the root. Down right here you can see the Docker stats. Oops. Not sure how visible it is. On the right, usually on the right I'm working in the container itself. How many of you do know the command to step into the container? 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. Stepping into a container is a long command. and you usually want to step into your PHP container at least. So how can you do with Docker for Mac? You just say, I want to go to the shell. And I am in the shell already. At the bottom right tile, I usually keep an eye on the logs. Getting the log files just with Docker is Docker logs and the container name. But Docker for Mac comes with a command for that. It says make logs. Yeah, that was fast. For those who are using Docker Compose, I think this image is familiar. Right. Sorry. User-guided caching. I missed that one during the explanation of MariaDB. As I think most of you know, to make your data persistent, you have to create a volume for that. And here you can use the delegated user-guided flag. This is extra performance tuning. If you want to set up the storage drive to use overlay 2, you have to go to the, I'm not sure I can make this bigger. Nope. To use a different storage drive, you have to enable that feature, setting the experimental value true and setting the storage driver to overlay 2. Overlay is a really performant driver. It's much better than the default overlay FS what Docker for Mac ships with. Right. So that was pretty much it. Once you set this up, you end up with an environment which can be shared between any Mac computer. The method, the way of working will be the same. They are going to use the same command and the same environments across the project, because the only prerequisite for this is to have Docker for Mac enabled, downloaded and installed on your computer. Just an extra bonus, extra thing for the NFS support. To set up the NFS support, you have to change 2 files on your Mac. One is the exports file in the /etc. And you just have to add this. People who are using Vagrant or I think Docker machine also add on exports here. In my experience, usually they are not conflicting with each other, but it's worth to keep this as clean as possible. After you add this, you have to modify, you have to create an NFS configuration file. With the following content. I'm not sure this is visible at all. Even without a very fine-tuned NFS support, you can still get a way better performance than the normal volume mounting. And that was pretty much it. So if you have any questions, you can ask now. All right. Thank you very much for listening.